So hi and welcome to Kathy's book launch. It's so nice to see so many of you. And I'm Gloria Mindock, editor and publisher of Cervena Barva Press. And tonight we have three great writers here to celebrate. And I had the honor of publishing all of them. I had published Devlin, her book Rita, and Denise Bergman's book, The Telling, and of course, Kathy's book, The Mystery of the Girl Sleuth, poems inspired by Nancy Drew. And so let's get started. And Kathy's new book is World Happiness Index. Let's see here. I'm just going to change the view here. There we go. So you can see it better. So our first reader is Denise Bergman, and she is the author of 5 books of poetry, most recently, The Shape of the Keyhole, published by Black Lawrence Press. And I give you Denise.
I'm so pleased to be here celebrating Kathy's book. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, good. It's a beautiful book and I'll hold it up as well. And it's got such a compassionate and urgent voice. It's really beautiful. I've known Kathy for more than 3 decades and admired her work and her personhood from the very, very beginning. Let's also recognize Gloria Mindock and everything she does for poets and for poetry as a publisher, and also her own writing, which is really very wonderful. So I'll read 3 poems. The first is called Map from Before the World Was Round. And this is actually a map that I did see at an exhibit in a public library a long time ago. Map from Before the World Was Round. Gapped, ragged coastlines under tired glass. Measured, conquered, claimed, before Earth became a ball, cupped in a palm. Before we could trek a straight line to return to where we began. Margins seethe spiraling dragon breath flames, spiked tails, vehement wings, venomous tongues, hammered taloned feet, scales, horned foreheads, saucer eyes, wide hinged jaws. Cut to the chase, danger. In and beyond the offing, beyond conception, beyond conceivable, swimming, flying, creatures voraciously procreating, their hunger loud. I write often about what I call bracketed time, when a moment, a single small moment, can hold an eternity. This is called 9 longs. 1. Until the rubber band meets its limit, while the bent bow torments the arrow, until the bungee jumper rebounds up the sheer cliff, until the phone, until the shoe, wait. 2. Long isn't a shorter, 2. Long isn't a longer short, isn't elongation, but a mix of ahead, behind, beyond, to the side. 3. She waits so long the object of her waiting disappears. 4. Long is the walk clutching the baby doll ice let her keep, its tangled plugs of hair, bruised, blushed cheek, filthy feet. She stretches her shirt to cover its naked skin. 5. Inside the padlocked 60 seconds, I smelled his filthy fingernails. 6. And now I'm tossing, folding, refolding the pillow. The question spinning like a drill bit. Had he honed the blade on the cheap sharpener in his kitchen or in long swipes down his father's leather strop? 7. Define, that is, tell her. She doesn't know in any language, long or short. So young, words are monochrome, whispered lullaby, clank of the steel cage door. Define, lie, tell the one with the Elmo backpack she will see her mother before long. 8. Measure in decades the nights he will puncture the tense canvas sky for his daughter. Mark Jupiter, Mars, stars, Milky Way. And 9. She stands all day in their crosshairs, standard issue Uzis, the wall's razor wire checkpoint, then shifts her wheezing baby to her other shoulder, tucks the hospital referral slip back in her bag, and goes home to return before dawn the next and next day. And this poem, called Bergies, takes place in Alaska. Nickname deception, Bergies, upbeat, cute, splintered off chunks of iceberg, 1/3 visible assuages our eyes, 2/3 blue in impenetrable blue. Bergies mask the implication, bob and bump like a cache of ducklings ignorant of depth's haunt. That day, the Glacier Bay captain killed the engine and we floated in galaxy silence, but for the Bergies' crackling, snapping cracks and the cold slapping the day-night sun. Sky blue, sea blue, ice blue, the blue, blue chill through thermal mittens and insulated socks. Sun glazing our faces drinking reflection through sparkling straws, until the Bergies absorbed all they could of us, said enough, and pushed us to shore. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And our next reader is Ellen Devlin. And she is the author of Rita. And she has a chapbook forthcoming called Heavenly Bodies. And she also has a full-length collection forthcoming, which I will be publishing. And I give you Ellen.
Hello to everyone who came to listen. Congratulations to Kathy, and thank you to Gloria and to Kathy for inviting me to participate in this. This is special, a book launch. So I brought 6 poems, but they're short, so I shouldn't take too long. The first one is called Observations After Making a Doomsday Book for My Children. Here is the sound of light-splintered lantern. Here is the abstract mountain, smoke-choked, as is the song of delphiniums, moan of truck tires on a bridge. Here is the no sound of an empty saucer. Here is the question in overheard, the ache in never heard, a jar of raspberry preserves with a spoon resting inside. Here is the taste of a penny on a tongue, electric, lingering. Here is the smooth stone in my palm, the baby weight in my arms. Here is the blue of blues, the carrier oil, blistered shingles of old houses. This one is called The 50th College Reunion Committee Asks. What I've done: got a job, got married, saved quarters for the laundromat, tried every church and left every church I tried. Yonkers was a daughter, a son, a stillborn I never got over. I hooked a rug, started wearing heels and CVS cosmetics again, read all of Agatha Christie and most of Webster's Third, fell in love with, and fell in love with. To stop hiding from precision, painted botanicals, but got eroticized, painting this leaf, this green. Irvington was a grandson and two more, some civic collusion. I remain bewildered and hungry. I went on retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh. He named me Compassionate Joy of the Heart, which felt a little heightened and a little misplaced, especially because I kept trying to see Richard Gere, rumored to be at the Dharma talks. The next two, I should just give a little introduction to. I'm sure you are all familiar with John Clare, early 19th century British poet, but I was quite moved, not so much by his poetry as the essay he wrote called Out of Essex. And that details the story of his escaping from what was then called a lunatic asylum and walking 88 miles from the hospital in Essex to his home in London. So there are two poems connected to that. The first, John Clare inhabits me. Where are my feet and handerlings? I'm far from home. Into my head funnels sap from pine cone beds. I apprehend the disaster, need. Mouth is moaning, noisying the air. Seek the mothers bringing clover, honey, and bread. Empty your eyes of inland seas, your shoes of gravel. Every suffering deserves its own poem. The next, Palm with pocket stone, Psalm with pocket stone and door key. I headache, I dry throat, I shallow breathe. My witness, my refuge, I'm one of you, locked in night smell. I go back over my footprints and comb the grass into comfort with my hands. I distort, see eyes and mouths spread and twist, bodies worn inside out. Walls weep and floors waver. I call joy enorm bliss, hunger, zealing, call myself scattermoon, brainling. Look, see the exhaustion of nails that claw and bleed crows. Once primroses grew from my fingers. No, actually, am I out of time?
You're fine. Go ahead.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, am I out of time?
Oh, no, I thought you said, do you have time?
Oh, I better read very fast now because I made you all sit there when you could be watching Netflix.
That's okay.
Let me go quickly. Okay, this is another one from the collection that Gloria was so kind to mention. This one is called Smoking in Diners. In diners, in cities, smokers sometimes dropped unfinished cigarettes into an almost empty coffee cup and poked at the hissing with a spoon, or jabbed it into a soda bottle, turned and looked long out the window. Forks clattered on thick plates. Newspapers shivered like wing beats. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
now I'd like to introduce Kathy. Again, I'm going to show her book, and this is it. And I'm very, very excited for you, Kathy. And I just want to say a few things about her. And just that I've known her for years and years, and she's one of the nicest and warmest people I know. And her poetry, reading this book, I was going, oh my God. And then parts of it, I was like, yes. So it really struck me and hit me a lot. And I really, really loved it. And so I want to say a few things about her. She is the author of several collections of poetry. She teaches in the Solstice M.F.A. program and for Changing Lives Through Literature, an alternative sentencing program based on the power of books to change lives through reading and group discussion. She is a consulting editor in poetry for the Kenyon Review. She is the recipient of numerous grants and fellowships. And I give you Kathy.
Here, I think I'm okay. Thank you, Gloria. I guess, everybody hearing me, I think? Make sure it's nice and loud. Yeah. And thank you all for coming. Gloria, I really want to say how much I appreciate your hosting this, this launch, and also for all you have done for poetry and an appreciation of your own wonderful work. Your book, Ash, is getting many well-deserved accolades. So I'm very happy about that. Can everybody hear me? Because it's very strange that I can't see you guys or hear you. I can see you. I can see you. And I also want to thank Denny Bergman and Ellen Devlin for joining me tonight. I really appreciate both of your poems. I wanted to read with you because I admire your work. And I wanted this event to be more than just about my book, but more a celebration of poetry. So thank you for making that happen. And I want to also thank Steve Huff and Phil Memmer of Tiger Bark Press for bringing this book into the world. But mostly I want to thank all of you who are here and who are persistent, because I had so many problems with my email. The Comcast account was not sending anything out. And so today I've been texting people links and emailing it from different accounts. And I think that Mark Pavluk and Mary Bonina still haven't been able to get in, alas, but thank you all. It's wonderful to see so many people from so many different parts of my life and from so many different parts of the country. So thank you all. In order to, I don't know, keep this idea of the celebration of poetry going on, I'd like to read a poem by someone else. This is Incantation of the First Order by Rita Dove. Listen, no one signed up for this lullaby. No bleat sheep or rosebuds or twitching stars will diminish the fear or save you from waking into the same day you dreamed of leaving. Mockingbird on back order, morning bells stuck on snooze. So you might as well get up and at it. Pestilence be damned. Peril and risk having become relative, I'll try to couch this in positive terms. Never is the word of last resorts. Always the fanatic's rallying cry. To those inclined toward kindness, I say, come out of your houses drumming. All others, beware. I have discarded my smile, but not my teeth. So in recognition of all Gloria has done, I want to begin, I hold this cover up too, by reading a poem from Investigations, The Mystery of the Girl Sleuth. These, as Gloria said, these poems are all based on Nancy Drew, whom I was so fascinated with when I was a child, but the poem sort of morphed to being about her, to being about other mysteries in my life. And this poem is about my mother who had Alzheimer's. So I want to acknowledge Eric Hyatt, who has just published a wonderful book, Aporia, about his mother and my dear friend, Barbara Helfgott Hyatt's Alzheimer's. The case of the impersonator. The first clue is she doesn't know me. The mystery is she looks just like my mother. Same size 6 dresses, same narrow shoes, but this one wears the same clothes every day. My father has to sneak them in the wash. Another clue. Just after the dishes are cleared, aren't we going to eat? She asks. My real mother knows what lunch is. She made all the meals. And when we wanted to go out, go ask your mother, my father would say. It's true, I haven't seen my mother since spring, and now snow dusts the ground, but more evidence. Every morning, this woman asks my father, are we married? Well, okay, if you say so. Another clue. I tell her I want to talk about something important. Sex, she snickers. My mother never used that word with me. But when I say going to the doctor, no, she snaps in my mother's voice. Still, I don't want this imposter arrested. Although at night in bed, she's angry at my father, asking why he's let me, a stranger, stay in their spare room. In the morning, she tells me I'm the nicest lady she's ever met. And shouldn't I tell my mother where I am? Thank you. I'd like to start with the title poem from this book. As you may know, every year, some organization puts out the World Happiness Report, and they have a list of criteria. They poll different nations somehow, and they rank you. And so this is, in 2019, the United States was the 19th happiest country in the world. The World Happiness Index, 2019. How happy I am to live in the 19th happiest country in the world. Tulips rose this month through the arsenic soil, and the air I breathe is dark with money. In country 19, we can say what we want. A professor in California is allowed to say we elected a racist president, and those who disagree can leave phone messages threatening his 9-year-old daughter because we live free or die. Our children leave their houses each morning happy, not knowing what adventures the day holds. Might they be shot on the sidewalk by an officer who mistakes their cell phone for a gun, or by a stray bullet in the playground? Or will they get to school where they can hide in the closet from an active shooter? If they arrive home safely, there's always tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow their teachers will have guns. They are happy to be living in this just happy enough country where no one dares get sick for fear of bankruptcy. If you try in happy country 19, you too can be as rich as the sea. And if not, there are lots of street corners to live on and happy things to swallow or snort. And the fetid air from the subway grate will keep you warm at night if you knock someone else off it, playing king of the mountain. We have problems, of course, that we're trying to solve, but we're from the country of hard work and initiative, of take what you want and say it was yours all along. Numbers 1, 2, and 3, with their orderly lives, their healthcare and housing and good schools for free, grow soft and mushy. Not us. We're the ice inside a snowball, the rubber hose that leaves no mark. We dance on the head of uncertainty, cruelty's pin. Every morning, our sun rises, red, white, and blue. And this next poem is a sonnet based on something I witnessed in Harvard Square. Street sonnet. A woman, middle finger lifted high, screams curses at the sky. Her fraying clothes mismatched, shoes loose, brows torn awry, a rank sibyl shouting. Does she suppose the sun's to blame for beggars in the streets or for the kids who mock her from their car, matching the obscenities with which she greets them? She must suspect what cowards we are. Our faces blank, as if we haven't heard their stupid bitch, her frenzied fuck you too, which make us walk more quickly. It's absurd the way we turn our heads, avoid her view. Too timid to speak up or meet her gaze, we smooth our hair. Her anger sears the day. Whenever I'm in the airport, they have that speaker comes on and tells you to maintain control of your luggage at all times. And I always picture suitcases like running wild, like toddlers all over the airport. So that was the impetus for this poem. Maintain control of your luggage at all times. Do not let it roll through the airport unattended. Likewise, when you get home, curb your dog, your children. Don't let them near your neighbors' yards. While you're at it, why not control your neighbors as well? Be sure they observe the correct times for putting out trash and taking it in. Keep their lawns mowed, their houses painted the prescribed colors. Report transgressions to the neighborhood association. Be suspicious of anyone who rings your doorbell pretending to be lost. Even a child can cause harm. If someone makes you nervous, well, you're allowed to protect yourself in this country. If they're on your property, better safe than sorry. We have laws. Make sure those laws are on your side of the street, the one you control. The street's not wide enough for everyone. Rezone if you must. That's how it works. And be careful who you rent to. If you can't understand their accents, they may cheat you, and the strange smell of their food will linger in your house. Make sure their suitcases are packed in case you need them to leave. Face it, we can't control everything. That's why we have laws in this country. This poem is for my 4-year-old grandson, Emery. It's about when he was 16 months old and just kind of walking. At 16 months, brown and gold. My grandson plucks a marigold poking through a neighbor's white fence, crushes it between his fingers while I try to remember if it's poisonous. 3 days later, he's alive. So I crossed the marigold off my list of potentially lethal flora toddlers might put in their mouths. So far, he has not harmed himself by falling while carrying a stick and poking out his eye, something my mother assured me would happen if I ever ran with a stick in my hand. Though he tugs hard at the baby gate, he has not pulled it down. Though he has banged on the window, he has not shattered it, cut himself, or fallen to the pavement 2 stories below. His skin has not turned from brown to blue during a tantrum, and he has grabbed the dog's whiskers without being bitten. He bulldozes his way. He prods and he pushes. He tries to put the whole of the dangerous world in his mouth while I follow, ready to snatch the worst away. When tired, he wobbles, he falls, he cries, but the next day he's walking again. Golden marigold petals stain his brown hand as he carries his stick. So far, no one thinks it's a gun. As some of you know, I've been writing on and off a series of self-portraits. So I'd like to read a few of those. Self-portrait. I live in a land of trash and extravaganza. I know the party's over by used condoms and empty nip bottles rolling in the street. If today held one thing worth remembering, I forgot to look for it. I tell myself, don't wear out like a sequin dress split at the seams, dropping glitter. Luckily, no one notices, so I don't get discarded. Disapproval, a heavy coat I'm afraid to shrug off. Stop. The event I dread will be here soon enough. Why wear myself thin as a sheet? This poem is from my friend Kathy DeZangatita, who I think is here every year. She reads my tarot cards. And every year, or almost every year, I get the 2 of Swords. which means you're stuck, right? I keep getting it. Self-portrait as the Two of Swords. Again, for my birthday, you lay out the cards. By now, you know all the things I want to change, but don't. Each year, I get the Two of Swords, blindfolded woman, her back to the sea, crescent moon in the sky. And each year you point out she could uncross her arms, drop those swords, untie her blindfold, leave. I don't want to be her, hoodwinked figure who can't tell she's free. But if change were easy, wouldn't you turn to look at the moon and to see she's perfectly balanced? What you can't see can't hurt her. Her hands, always full, will never be the devil's playthings. But don't her arms ache from lifting those swords? What muscles she must have from raising them so long. You've moved to the next card while I nod as if I believe this time with your urging, I'll reach behind my head, untie that knot, become the woman of strength, hand on the lion's mouth without fear. Or the star, graceful maiden, effortlessly pouring water from two pitchers, one foot on the pool, one knee on the earth. And the last self-portrait is self-portrait as a seagull. Forget the jittery plover nesting in the sand, just asking for its eggs to be crushed by your careless foot, nervously darting away and deserting its young if you come near. Picture me on an inflatable lounger knocking ash from my cigar, gin and tonic handy, trash talking marauder screeching with my gang in intertidal pools. I play chicken as you walk the shore, snatch your lunch from its paper bag. Look for me in the parking lot behind the market where I street fight over clams, then strut a piece of shell hanging from my beak. Let me just look. I know I cut some from this reading. Praise for the ill. I was a Reiki volunteer at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Praise for the ill. Praise to the patient who says of the winter's cold, I wouldn't choose to be here, but at least I'm in a warm, dry bed. To the woman in elegant pajamas waiting for a transplant who asks me how I am. To the young one with the beautiful eyes and thinning hair who smiles when she tells me she'll be here for 6 months and wonders if her mother sent me. To her brother sitting by her bed in a mask, checking his email. To all those who allow me to touch them, and to the patient, swollen from burns, skin crackling like a Thanksgiving turkey's, who trusts me not to touch her. To the hallucinating girl who sees bugs crawling toward her and lets me brush them away. To the ones who fidget, the ones who fall asleep, to those who say no, and those who say yes. To the woman who told me, your hands are so warm, at first I thought it must be the work of the devil. To the body's frailty and to its strength. To the great generosity of the ill. To the calm they bring me. To their tubes and their wires, their beeping machines, Purell, gloves, masks, and gowns, a list of precautions on each of their doors, an icon of someone falling, high risk. To women whose flanks poke out from their hospital gowns, so lost in their beds, I hardly can find them. To men so tall, their feet push at the footrail, and for the man whose mechanical heart shakes the bed. As the sky darkens, they struggle to sleep, each breath dedicated to a single purpose. My father floating. My father floats in a fearful dream, rises outside his body, but he's stuck in the living room, which appears tilted at a surreal angle, ceiling fan coming out of a wall. Float somewhere nicer, my sister suggests. Havana, Athens, Cairo, places he traveled as a younger man, extra pages stapled into his passport in accordion folds. Or maybe visit that East Hampton bungalow we used to rent before it became such a fashionable address. Help, help, he cries, arms flailing. Perched on a ledge about to go over, he can't find the floor, though he's upright, secure, and awake in his chair. The usual laws no longer apply. The structures that house him, the very habits themselves relinquish their long service. Coaxing, demanding, our voices fade to distant traffic, our faces vague moons. I've been out of my body, he tells us at lunch as we attend to his labored breathing, keep trying to fix his feet to the floor. Well, my father was a marine engineer, and most of his life he worked on tankers. Dry docked beyond repair in his fancy Barker lounger. My father couldn't fix himself the way he fixed tankers, made their engines glow and roar. For 2 nights, I kept watch as he slept, reassured if he groaned, alarmed if his breath quieted, just as he on a cruise slept through our giggles, slept through suitcases sliding across the cabin floor in rough seas, but woke with a start when the engine grew muffled as we scraped through the straits of Corinth. Now he occupies the space a ship leaves in its wake, or the gaps between gangplank steps so wide that I, as a child, was afraid I'd slip through. I'm a stuttering engine, a ship whose rudder is tangled in rope. I can't stay in dry dock forever, a tanker not sure what port it's bound for, the captain asleep, the engineer aimlessly checking the valves. This last poem is a long prose poem. Over and over. Eternalism argues past, present, future are equally real. Combine that with reincarnation, and I could be living multiple lives without knowing it. I just happen to be conscious of the dullest one, which I make even duller by never leaving the house voluntarily or without regret. But if I could leave for one of those other lives, maybe the one in a seaside town in northern Maine where I clam, catch lobsters, and know everyone at the bar. Or Barcelona, where I meet my secret lover each afternoon in a cafe on Las Ramblas and leave my espresso untouched. Maybe Chicago, a chambermaid supporting 5 kids on her tips. I didn't say these lives were easier, did I? Just more intense. But I'm only aware of being in this suburban movie, preparing a birthday party for my grown daughter who has given me attitude for spoiling the surprise her husband planned but forgot to tell me about. I silently apologize to my own mother for all the back talk I gave her over nothing. It's too late to ask forgiveness unless she too is living another life in which she remembers who I am. As for my daughter, I had such a long labor, 2 days, so much hard pushing. But no matter which life I might be in, once the contractions begin, things move in a single direction. So already I've lost control. Maybe the surprise will be that when they arrive, I'll be gone, leaving the big white cake with whipped cream and strawberries next to a note on the table saying, "Move to a parallel universe, no forwarding address." All lives begin with some woman pushing some other life out of her and end with that life rising out of its body or with like a deflating balloon, like my mother's, which she forgot while she was living it. After she died, she was ashes, and I'm grateful I didn't have to choose one outfit from all her clothes, then see her laid out like a doll in a box. Didn't risk confusing the scent of mortuary flowers with her Chanel No. 5. I'm glad I can imagine she simply moved to another life, having carelessly misplaced this one. Believe me, I know there is only this life of bickering family and my own touchy self. I was nervous, my daughter apologized. She doesn't like to be the center of attention. After 29 years, how did I forget that? Despite good intentions, we elbow each other's bruises again and again. Eternalism's a kind of trap, no escape. Over and over, the dead stay dead. Might as well tear up that fantasy note, bring out the cake, light the candles. Could extinguishing their small, cheerful flames possibly make wishes come true? We sing happy birthday once more. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and congratulations again on your new book. So yay. And thank you, Ellen and Denise, for celebrating with us tonight also. So let's give everyone a round of applause again, please.